Hi there, and welcome to another tutorial on the Vss2 sequencer. I've just updated it to 2.6, so I thought I'd better do another tutorial just to outline all the new bits and bobs, and there's quite a lot of changes. I've moved things about, which I apologise for, but there was reasons. So if you got used to where something was, you might find it's not there anymore. And again, I'm sorry, it annoys me as a user, but it needed to be done in certain circumstances. Right, waffle over. New functions. First major one is adding a ratchet function to the steps. I've called it ratchet. It's just another repeat thing, but I've called enough things repeats that another thing labelled repeats would just be a bit confusing, so it's called ratchets. That seems to be a name that a lot of people understand, so could have called it Bob, anything, it doesn't matter. Anyway, right, so, and that didn't work. Right, here we go. Good old simple step. 4 steps. Oh, keep it quiet so that you can hear my voice still. And each step now has 2 new controls. It's initial 0, which is labelled number of ratchets, 1 to 10, and a delay time for the ratchets. And let's just get rid of tooltips, that's going to become annoying. So, on its simplest behaviour, so that's the range of 1 to 10, and they're equal spacings within the step. So when you set it to 1, it's like the ratchet's on half the step length. Now, when that's set at 20, if we half it to 10, and then if we increase, oops, gone to 1. Oh, we're good at this, aren't we? Which is why you've got that there. So when you increase the step length, because that's all related to each other, you can start to What's also quite useful is that you can, if we sign an LFO to alter the pitches of steps 1 to 5, it will alter the pitch of each ratchet as it flies by, as it were. Which is, on a simpler, that's a bit naff, but when you've got it on zithers or some dulcimer type things or vibraphones, it can give some nice effects. Let's switch it off. Let's get that back to 0. And it's variable for each step. Back to 2. Now, there we go. Now, it also can be utilised with the P1 and P2 subsequencers. So if I just set P1 up just to do something, Now at the moment when we ratchet, actually let's just shove that up a couple of octaves so we can hear it. Right, that's not getting affected by it. Now there's a button down here called R-Link, which what that does is links this to the ratchet. So it's doing the ratcheting and then it's proceeding. That shows it off better, doesn't it? And you can get some interesting offsets if you start messing about with this. The other thing which works with the subsequencers on the main sequencer is if we set repeats to 0, I've got it to work more as in a chord function. Let's just get back to 0, please. So it's now playing. And if we set P2 up, similar. This all happens when repeats are set as 0, and make sure you've got step 1 on or you won't hear anything at all. So you now get chordal rhythms going on. Now, as soon as you add a repeat in, it'll lose the gate information that it's gathering from the sequencer. Right, and that's basically how the ratcheting function works. I think I've covered everything related to that. Good. Let's just get this back to the... Right. I've also expanded the randomizing functions a bit. Before, like, so for instance, for the pitching, we used to just click to get a random fill of pitches, and now what I've set up is a little button there. See the wee blue button next to R. Most of the R's have a little blue button next to them, and what that does is every time it reaches the start step, it re-triggers the randomization. So as you can see, as it's cycling through, it's randomizing each step, and that works also for the clocks. Which can give you a few variations, and the yellow R number is your kind of limiter on that respect. So that's R4 there relates, it's randomized between 0 and 4, and if we up to 12, but we'll get longer step lengths then, and it gets a bit slow. Speed it up. Oops. Better on the pitches, of course. I've also added that randomising functions onto all the CV lanes as well. So you can have a right old random fest. Right, switch them all off, stop. Right, and I've also made a random clock. I was experimenting with a Geiger oscillator to create a Geiger clock. And that sounds stunning, my lad. Let's just set it to 16s. Right. It's quite experimental, and depending on what you've got it rigged up to depends how it works. But basically, it's randomising the number that would be fed to the main clock, basically. And from 0 to, and this R number here is your upper limit. So if I set this really short, and it goes all the way up to 300. And it's quite useful for some things. I suspect I've been watching quite a few of these modular videos with the guys. I'd like one of those myself, but anyway, they've been having lots of things. That Richard Devine, he uses things like that a lot, I suspect. Anyway, also when you start changing the step lengths, it slows it down even more. What use is that? It does have uses, honestly. And when you increase that, if you take the R number down a bit, and if you set a random for direction, and if we just randomize the pitches, let's scale the little bug up. If you're into degenerative type music and styles, this can be quite useful. I've had lots of fun with it, but it's not showing me anything wonderful at this moment in time, so I shall just say that's the random clock.